Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight to Breaking Through These Brick Walls. And tonight I want to do a tips and tricks out of Pro Tools, as well as let's think about some other tips and tricks that we can use that are in Ancestry to really help us try to organize the information in our research information. So you should be able to see my Ancestry page, my home page for Ancestry. I'm going to enlarge it just a little bit. Okay. So basically, just a background talk about Pro Tools. So Pro Tools was something I did not want to sign up for. Me personally, I will share my tree, some little things. So we're researching our family, and in the quest of us researching our family, the overall goal is, how can we get the most out of paying and subscribing to this service. So there are some people who may want to think about Pro Tools, but how is it going to benefit your research? That's the bottom line to it. And there's so many features that they impact sometime in software that it can be overwhelming just trying to even figure out how to use it. So once Pro Tools was shared, I was like, I found all of my ancestors to 1870. I've started researching and finding that's my father's side. All of my ancestors in Alabama and they're enslavers. So for me, Pro Tools are not something that I necessarily felt I needed to pay for to enhance my research. But then they offered a sale and a special. And I said, okay, so sometimes they offer those specials. I think mine was $20 for 4 months. And I believe it was normally $10 a month. So that's on top of what we're paying, another $120 addition. Unfortunately, I will say for features that are already incorporated that we could have gotten. But nonetheless, it now becomes an additional investment. So on the homepage, when you look at Pro Tools to the right, they're over here off to the right. So make sure it's not closed and not collapsed. You want to expand it so that you can see all the features and functions. So typically, many of us know that when we look at the Pro Tools features, especially for DNA, how to utilize it for DNA. And I'm going to take a look at that piece from the DNA side. But when you look at Explore Your Pro Tools, they have even more features and functions. And I want to be able to share with you some of the things that I feel have been so worth it, because when you have whether it's a sizable tree, whether you're trying to organize the DNA matches you have, and there's so many features and functions. When they came out with one the first option there called networks, I was like, I don't need one more thing to try to figure out how to organize the people I already have. But as someone explained it to me how to utilize it to enhance my research, I finally said that now makes sense to me. So these are some of the things I want to be able to share with you. Some of these tools that are in Pro Tools that can definitely help to jumpstart what you're doing. But let's start with the matches. That tends to be the very first thing that we're all starting with. So typically when we're looking at our matches for the purpose of Pro Tools and shared matches. If you're not paying, you already know typically that you'll only be able to see your matches and you can message your matches. That's my understanding. I'm not sure if you can even use filters. A lot of these features that you see highlighted on the screen here, where I'm highlighting filter, create groups, search, or sort, you're limited. They limit the features that you can do to jumpstart and organize your information. So many of us already do filtering. So we know that's a typical feature of Ancestry, filtering, but creating groups. Do want to be able to highlight creating groups, because one of the things I started to realize was we have groups and many people are creating groups. They put a color dot, they give it a name, they're grouping people by these dots, these color codes. But then I said to myself, now that I have them in these groups, what do I do with them? How do I find all of the people in a list that have been added to a group? So what I found with the groups, it's definitely helpful to be able to group people that your new finds and being able to add them to a group so that you can go back to that list when you want to do some enhanced researching. So that's just creating groups. So I'm going to start by um, filtering my group by my father's side. My father's side, for me personally, is my Jamaican side. What I will tell you when you choose filter, don't choose the options that says your labels. They give us the ability to change the label, so I can say my daughter is not on both sides, she's only my mother's side, hypothetically. So if I change that label, then I would be searching for these labels I purposely changed. So sometimes if you're trying to find people or information, you may be choosing the wrong label. So always choose the ancestry label that has been identified. And even when you change it, your matches will display there. So I'm going to filter my matches by my paternal. And so quickly at a glance, if we choose the options up here, if we chose by parent, I'm going to do that real quick because some people may not know, but this is where we get to see our matches grouped by our maternal or paternal side. My daughter and this person here, I realize is a double match to me. And then I have 857 people that are not defined. And then some people have a lot of people in both sides, but so I'm going to just concentrate on one line, regardless that I know I have other people that could have been in that group. So view matches here, or if we would have chosen filter by paternal, it would have been the same option. It's the same thing. Okay. So my paternal side is Jamaica and England. My father literally was Jamaican, and his line rears out of England. And so when I looked at these lines, I'm looking, of course, like we all do, we're trying to figure out how we're relating to people. I discovered last year my father was not my father, my childhood dad. So this is my bio dad. And so absolutely all of these people became completely new to me, completely new to me. And I had to research every single last one of them. And I started doing that last year to figure out their relationships to me. So as I'm looking at the list, not having a clue, um, I will start. So we normally try to start with trees. So we have a tree here that's not linked. What that means is they have not defined the person that's researching as the first person in the tree. The initial person in the tree should be you. If you don't identify yourself, then when we look at the tree, we won't realize how to connect to you correctly. So we have an unlinked tree, and we have no tree, and a private um, unlinked tree. So what that basically means is I won't be able to see their trees, or can I? How do we get around being able to see our matches and our possible matches if we don't have good trees? So if we choose, so I'm gonna click on Tequila Thompson, who's managing CT's tree of all of 9 people. Well, sometimes that 9 people can be enough to tell you something. Knowing what I now know, it wasn't. There aren't even any birth dates that were worth anything to be helpful. So, starting with that, because we know that you don't have to pay for Pro Tools to see the shared matches, but your match list may be very limited. And that's because they really want you to invest and pay for the features and the services. So I did the grunt work. I contacted them, I messaged them, I did everything I could to figure out all these cousins. I did a lot of messaging way before I even thought about trying to use Pro Tools. So I built my paternal tree without Pro Tools. And then I finally decided to use Pro Tools because there was this feature. And one thing I started discovering from some sessions and meetings I've been going to, when you have Pro Tools, there's a bunch of things you can do. Pro Tools will now tell you the relationship of the person you chose to these additional people. So now CT is related to my daughter. CT is related to she's my daughter, but she's CT's second cousin. And sometimes that's still not helpful, right? I saw that we were second cousins from the initial screen. But now with Pro Tools, if you choose sort, you can now see everyone in the list and their relationship to the person you're looking at, or CT. So now this is sorted not by their relationship to me, but by their relationship to CT. And that's definitely many times can be helpful. I'll choose Glenn, for instance, because I know who he is. So each time you choose a match, you're going to look at the primary list of how they're relating to you. But when you sort, you're going to choose their relationship to the person you're looking at. And now I discovered that Trudy 01 KT was Glenn's daughter, and Layla is Glenn's grandniece or half niece. So now I can start building this tree based on the relationships of these people to that person. So now that's going to help strengthen how I'm going to be able to embark on drafting that tree. And when I looked at this, I saw Patricia Bernard. Now, Patricia Bernard, her tree was private, and eventually I've talked to her and that kind of thing. But I wanted to be able to share how sorting your matches allows you, by the person you're looking at, to understand their relationships to the person you're looking at. And that helps to muddle out and minimize the confusion of how are they relating to anybody that's in this group. Because now you'll be able to jumpstart and be able to build this line closer and quicker. Okay, so that's being able to use sort. So I'll go back to the initial page because again, I had some people who didn't have um, any trees whatsoever. So next you'll want to be able to look at no tree. Same thing. When you click on that person, there's nothing there to look at. So normally we have to stop. But of course, again, when you look at the shared matches, that you're keeping in mind how they are related to you and her. And then when you sort by that person, now you're going to be able to see people with a decent tree. When you're looking at your matches with Pro Tools, at least, if you mouse over the tree, instead of we before they did upgrade this feature, which was awesome because before we didn't have a clue if they had a tree or not. You had to click every single last one of these icons. But now I can at least mouse over that tree and I can at least be able to see if they got a decent tree to work with or not. So that helps to speed up whether I want to even look at a person's tree or not. And just like this person here, Jamel, he's totally private. I couldn't see anything, but I can now look at his information because of the shared matches and then sort by the relationships. So that sorting feature, it definitely became a game changer with being able to understand the relationship. So many people at a minimum feel that Pro Tools was worth it to be able to look at these relationships. Okay. So now we're going to go back to the homepage. So I wanted to get the DNA part out of the way. Also, by adding people to groups is another feature or function you want to take a note of because your DNA matches are not in your tree until you add them. And actually, I'm going to go back to my matches because I want to encourage you guys to get into the habit of adding people to your tree. When you've added them to the tree and you go down this list, that green icon will show. That green icon means every single last person has been manually added to my tree. And when you have something that someone you'd like to add to your tree after you found them, you're just going to hit connect to tree. And then you're going to type their name over here. And once you type their name, she's not in my tree because I don't know enough information on her. Her name would pop up. She would say connect. And now what that has done for Ancestry, it allows the database to strengthen the connection and the correlation between you, this person, any shared matches they have. And so now it's going to strengthen that calculation. It feels like a lot of work. It really is so beneficial to you because now you're not going to waste your time trying to figure out what a person is because you've already added them to the tree. Another amazing thing that happens when you do add a person to a tree It teaches you the names to start looking at, the surnames that are important for your research. So I have figured out Tequila's story, and she's actually the mother of CT. She was the mother of CT. I spoke with her about the situation, and that's as far as I could go. But building my information from someone else I talked to, I was able to align her into the tree based on how I believe she's relating to me. But now I'm paying attention to the last names: Thompson, Kettle, Burton, and that's going to allow me that Hazel. So now on my paternal side, I'm now paying attention to the surnames that I need to be remembering. Hatch. This was from a cousin in Louisiana. Her and I connected. We're actually related. I'm related to her through her mother and her father's side. So by knowing the names, it helps to drive when you're looking at other people's trees, especially your unknown matches. So I wanted to be able to say the effort of adding people to your tree strengthens your research, especially when you're looking at people you don't know. And, not that there is a quote unquote trick to adding someone to your tree, but having a monitor is so much better than a phone, because sometimes you need to do a side by side. You minimize the window over here, you have the other window up open up over here, and you just look at the name and you add the person to your tree. So when you're starting to look at wanting to enhance adding people and information to your tree, validating it, it really is, it behooves you to use a monitor and a computer to do that. Tablet, laptop, a mouse, you can click and drag and you can do more features and functions with mouse than with your phone trying to do different things. Another thing I will tell you as a quick tip on a phone, I'm gonna shrink this and it might mimic a phone. When you're on a phone, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't use the app. Do not use the app on your phone. When you're on a phone, a mobile phone, go to your Chrome internet browser where you would type the website. When you log in from the website on a phone, you get to see more features than when you're on the app. That right there is going to be a game changer for many of you who use your phones, because you will see a lot more of the features that we have on a desktop when you're on a phone using the browser and not the app. So definitely with Ancestry, consider using on a phone, using the browser to go to Ancestry than using the app. You'll get a lot more features and functionality and that kind of thing. Okay. So let's go back to Pro Tools. So I wanted to share the group function for your DNA matches, because until you add them to the tree, you have no way to get to those matches until you go back to the list and you search for the name and you do all of that extra work to try to find them. When you have them in a group, that's a quicker way of being able to get to it. So let's take a look at,
Barbara, I'm
yes.
sorry. Okay, so because I have a difficulty adding to the tree. So when you hit that, you went over to that side over there and you
Oh, I
added,
minimized the browser.
no, so you actually physically have to take their name and put it somewhere in your tree.
Oh, you physically have to add each person. So you know how sometimes you have a tree and you just say add all of these people to the tree? When you have it an individual person that you want to add to your tree, and they don't have a good tree, you're going to have to just go to the position in your tree and manually add their name, add their parent, add their grandparent, until going adding them individually until they are in your tree, but connect them to you,
Okay, okay.
connecting to you,
Starting
because
with that person.
yes. So I'll
Okay.
show you again that particular list. So what happens is a lot of people tell you to create floating trees. I'm okay with the floating tree if you strongly feel they're going to be matching you. But I'll tell you right now, I don't add a person to my tree until I'm going to add them until I get down to their daddy at least. And then I'm going to message them and say, can you tell me who your parent is? I want to add them physically into my tree. So, and actually, I didn't even have to do this. So I'll go to Michael Lloyd, for instance, my cousin here, Michael Lloyd. So when you look at their profile, you're going to see their tree. You know, their tree is down here at the bottom. So let's say I looked at Michael's physical tree and I determined where he and I are related. We're related through this name, Jackson Lloyd. And so, you know, normally I could click on Jackson in his profile and I can say, after I have him here, save him to my tree. And now I can easily add him that way. But there are some people that um, either there's, even if there's a lot of them, that's okay. But the goal of it is whatever you do, when you find your match, add that person until you add that person into your tree. So I'll let you see what Michael looks like because one, I had to contact him to figure out who was his parent at the time. And so when I click on view entry, and I prefer the horizontal view because I always like looking at the grandparents, the ancestors. The ancestors are how they're going to relate to me. Unless I want to look at their children and siblings, this is always my go-to preferred view. But now I know that he's related to me from Jackson. Barbara was his mother, and there he is. And even though I don't add pictures, I don't need all of that, but he's in my tree. And now I was able to get to him because I've attached him to my tree. The only thing I will say, I don't know how to view him from here. I think that's one caveat Ancestry might need to add or I need to figure out. How do I look at a person who has been added to my tree back in the DNA match list? Let's say, for instance, I didn't know who his mother was, but I know he's relating to me on his maternal side. I would have written private Lloyd. I add private people to my tree until I can, so that I can add them to my tree. If you have to add two two adults or two ancestors to the tree just to add them, then you add those privates because at a minimum, you know for a fact when you look at his tree or you're researching and maybe you trip over someone else. If this had to say private and that had to say private, in order for me to connect him to Jackson, that's what I would have done. Because I want to have him and maybe someone else might have him in their tree so that I can fill in these gaps. So don't be afraid to have private, if that's what you have to do to structure the tree to add your DNA matches. Because I trust me, later on down the line, it becomes so beneficial when you're starting to really look at other matches for this Lloyd line for me. And then now I'm like, okay, I know he's related to me. I just got to figure out who his father was, his mother was, and who his father was, little things like that. Sometimes we'll look at a newspaper article, it'll say so and so was the parent. So we can get only so far till we talk to them. And they're taking forever to get back to us. Don't let that hinder you. Add private, connect them to your tree, making whatever notes, you know.
So is he you when you added him to your tree initially, did you connect him just as a cousin and then
Well,
add?
that's what he was. That's what he was.
Okay.
That's what he was. So one thing also, since you brought that up, like now when I look at him, we can see, and I did want to share this, so thank you for that caveat. I did want to be able to see the now we can see the relationship he would be to me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the relationship that Ancestry said, which was probably weird, or sometimes the further back you go, they clump your fourth generation cousin with your sixth generation cousin. And so you don't know that they're further related to you than being closer related to you.
Mm.
So I have started focus hard on being able to see that. Some people started sending me this list. It was driving me crazy. How did you get that list? When you click on that link
Mm.
and it's telling you the relationship, is literally telling you,
Yeah.
drilling down to you how they're related to you.
Yes. Okay.
And what's amazing about this relationship piece, I now can hone in on. So now someone I thought was a cousin, and it's that, oh no, they're related to me by their my cousin's husband's second great grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, well, he's a husband. He's not directly related to me. Let me disconnect, not disconnect him, but not stop thinking that I'm related to this line. So paying attention to the relationships that they are to you is another strong feature that you want to be paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a caveat to a feature I wanted to show you real quick, which is tags. Adding a tag to your tree. And I have not tagged Michael, and I have not given him a color icon. So this was a good option I chose. So you've heard me say repeatedly, give your matches an image, a cousin image, related to me by cousins, related to me through my father. What, there's different sources to find icons. I will share a source, but I like my own that I can create. I have permanently borrowed from other people's trees if it was useful. But as you can see, I have so many people in my tree and so many images. It can take me a minute to get here, and I have to painstakingly. I go to every cousin to give them an icon, and I just scroll, scroll, scroll till I get to it. Because it's worth it. I am a visual. I'm a so there's many different ways we learn. Some people learn by listening. Some people learn by auditory or visual. I use all of them. I like to be able to click on something, do it myself, see it, hear it. But if you only teach it to me by auditory, I've lost it. So that's why I try to do these sessions and incorporate all of these different principles. So when you add an image, I choose use full. You can also crop the image. So sometimes, you can get people to hone in on their face. Sometimes when there's a couple or you don't want all the background around them, you just crop it. But I use the full image for this so that now when I look at his name, I've already said he's a cousin. And all of my cousins get that. Now, if they have a parent, a picture of a relative, I keep the pictures. I kind of like to see the face of people I'm related to. His father, actually, he was in Rochester. He is not now. One of my friends is related to him on his father's side, and I'm on his mother's side. And we end up seeing that sometimes. Someone found me today from Facebook. He said I had 25 friends that were all related to him. So he messaged me for my GEDmatch ID. We found out we cousins just because of Facebook. So all of these different applications is what you want to use to jumpstart your research. Okay, tagging. So Ancestry gives us some standard box tags. I could have said he was a common ancestor, a DNA connection, but I like to say he is a DNA match because he is in fact a match to me. There's other options. Was he enslaved, immigrant? Many of us know about these tags, but I want to show you how to jumpstart using these tags. So there are some in the box
So,
tag.
Deborah,
Yes.
okay, let me see if I get this straight. So, when I see a cousin, three to four cousins, and I know that they're a DNA match to me, you're gonna kill me for saying it, but how do I add them to my tree by tagging them?
It's tagging them. By tagging them, you won't add them to your tree. Tagging is just a way to organize the information.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm going to show you how I do organize the information and create groups that are mentally helpful for me and how I research. So to create a custom tag, all you really have to do is click the top option that says create a custom tag. And as you can see, I've maxed out my tags. I have 80 tags. I tag the heck out of my matches because I'll show you why. But Rodney is researching Washingtons, Richardsons, Proctors. As you can see, I started adding the surnames of my family under tags. And I give my relatives those tags. So Michael's going to get the tag of Broadus Lloyd because Lloyd's butt up into Broadus's, and that's Shell's line. So now, at a minimum, I have tagged him to my Broadus's and my Lloyd's. I've said he is a DNA match to me. And then another feature that is Pro Tools is creating networks. Now, I will create a network, and I'll show you how when I figure out a network that I want that's new. But for networks, I have created all of these networks right here. And I don't care if I have to create 200 of them to organize my data, that's what I'm going to do. But what I've done by creating networks, I am going to group these people by a network, a group, and affiliation that's familiar and knowledgeable for what you want to do. The only caveat with tags and networks, they can't have the same name. So my tag said Brodus Lloyd, but my network just said surname on the end because you can't have the same. And I'll show you how to use tags to swiftly add people that you haven't added them to a network yet, so that the system does it for you. So this is one amazing way to be able to use tags. And sometimes I'm going to have to go in here and I'm going to have to delete something if I need a new tag. But I've used 80. Trust me, you can identify all the names you have. One thing I will tell you though, what I've tried to do is if I look at Michael Lloyd's tree. So if you go to tools and I'm on that one person, whoever he is, and I choose view in tree. And so now when I looked at his relationship to me, when I got to the Lloyd side, I was able to quickly see fortunes, Lloyd's, until I got to him. The fortunes also connect to rights. So I think I have a network called Right Fortune Lloyd, because that's that one line that connects all of these people. I know I probably have a different network called Fortune, Garner, for instance, whatever you want to call it, right? Garner, Fortune, Lloyd. And that tells me, okay, these people fall on this line. You don't have to be as granular as I am, but as you can see, I'm researching enslavement. And now my lines are split. And so I wanted to be able to see the split that is that line. Because if I were to put everyone under Lloyd, I'm going to put all these people on these ends of the tree, the seven, this is 5 generations, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 generations of people in one network. And I don't want that. I need it granular. So when I start seeing people in Ancestry that I'm a DNA match and then I want to add them, I want to be focused on my relationship with them, especially many of you guys are researching enslavement. So you're going to want to make sure you're paying attention to the enslaver connected to your family. So that's why I go in and I create these networks. Let me refresh. I think I added him to that network already. Yes. But now he's also Brodus Fortune, right? So under Brodus Fortune, over here, did I have a Brodus Fortune? I ran out of tags, so no. But let me look for Fortune. Pay attention to how you're labeling things, so that you don't create a new tag when there was already an existing tag. There is already a can tag for mulatto. You don't have to do that. I've created a tag that says they have no African descent. That's for my white DNA matches that have no African descent. And then I have a tag that says African descent. And that says to me, oh, you have one drop. Then that helps me to understand that person and how they're relating to me. And they may not necessarily be relating to me through the African origin that's in them, but it allows me to make sure I'm thinking broadly about that relationship. Um, so tags is a great way to organize your information. And then I'll show you how to jumpstart it after that. So to create a new network. So I'm going to create a new network and I'm going to call that Brodus Fortune. There's all these categories. You don't have to choose all of these categories. It's to your discretion. You can even skip a category and just go on with whatever you want to do. So I do family life, enslavement. I started with enslavement because I knew I was trying to track the enslavers. But that's your friendly name for your network. So I'm going to just call this Brodus Fortune. So now when I need to add fortunes to a network, it's either be this one or I'll delete it. Okay. So now Michael has been added to that network and I can explore the networks. So now we're starting to look at the networks that we have. At the top in the upper left hand corner, I can just go to all of my networks by clicking on something and just viewing all of the networks. I'm going to figure out how to send a suggestion. This needs to be alphabetized. It is frustrating trying to figure out where are the people, what are the names that I added when it's not alphabetized. Having it alphabetized definitely would have been helpful so that I don't duplicate things. Fortune is not on this page, and I just want to make sure whether I created a Fortune tag, a Fortune network. And Fortune, there's two. See there? So there's Bird. There you go. Bird, Rollins, Fortune, Humphrey, and then Broadus, Fortune. So this is me splitting my networks up. Okay. So now that once you have your networks in place, okay, you could choose one, you could do stuff with it. So now I'm going to show you how to work with your tags. So if I go to more Pro Tools, what I loved about this when I figured this out, right here is visit all the people page, everyone in my database, in my tree. So the 26,000 people I have in my tree are all right here. And this is telling me I have duplicates that need to fix, people I don't have documentation, people I only have tree documentation, and other errors. And so this is helpful. One day I'll take a notion to try to clean up a lot of this. I don't know how they rate it. I don't know where they get that from. Is this out of 10? I guess I'm not doing bad. I don't know. But if you choose filters, this option right here became a game changer in my life, y'all. Filters. So now looking at all of the people in your tree, you can begin to start filtering them. And I think it works at an individual network level also. But look at that right there. Everybody, all the tags are already sitting here waiting for me, right? So if I just choose a tag, so I have a tag called they have been GEDmatch verified because somewhere or another I knew that I verified my cousins through GEDmatch, and that means they were not DNA connections to me. And because I added them to the tree and I made a notation in their name how they're relating to me. And I'll show you that right now before I do this next feature. So when you look at a person's tree, I'm gonna pray that I did what I want to say I did, but I don't know. And you go to notes. I put all my people over here in notes. Many of you have seen me do that. But now I don't have to keep them in notes. I can go to all of these people identified here. I can add them to a tag. I can add them to a network. And now I can group and organize these relationships, including the people who have been GEDmatch verified because I have added them to my tree. And what I did is I looked at their tree, I looked at my tree, and I added them until I got down to them. And then I couldn't connect them, right? Because they're not GEDmatch, they're not Ancestry verified. We're probably, as you can see, their relationship to me is almost 8 generations. And I'm gonna go to her because I'll go to her later. I think she is of European descent. I think she's white. And back then I didn't know about Pro Tools, just came out however long last year I think. So now that using Pro Tools, I can start tagging people, I can add them to networks, and when I get ready to analyze this Thompson line of my family, I have an understanding of how I have people. You can give them more than one match. So Amanda Hatch, I know for a fact she's a paternal match because everybody else in my tree is maternal. So my paternal matches are going to start standing out. If she was Amanda Hatch, she may be on my maternal side. I don't have a DNA match. I have a network for DNA matches. I have a network for famous people because I found famous people I'm related to. I added them to my tree, all the way down to them, all the way down to me. And now I'm using them to leverage these connections to people I don't understand my relationships to them. So these are the things we can get around when Ancestry is not going to is saying we're not related. GEDmatch said we are related. You add them to your tree when you figure out where they are. And then by tagging and adding them to a network, you've just jump started your research for your family in that capacity. Okay. So now I've chosen GEDmatch Verified back over here under all the people I'm looking at, and I filtered my list to my matches, to my tags. Now all you got to do is say, hey, I want to add all seven of these people to a network. And that network is going to be my GEDmatch Verified network. If it wasn't created, you see right there, I could have created a new one just off of the tags. So you don't have to do all this extra manual work kind of thing, right? But what you're going to have to do is spend a week adding the tags to the people you care about, thinking about what tags you want to use. Because once those tags are there, you can come over here, use the tags, create them in a network, and swoop, instead of individually, now you can add them. So now I'm just going to go to my, GEDmatch Verified has not been created. Look at there. So now I can just create this network that I did not create. But I started using tags because I knew I wanted to use the tags for something. I didn't know what. And now here it is. So for that little $10 a month or whatever money they're getting out of me, I'm going to get bang for my buck by utilizing it in this way. So you don't have to give a description. I have a network. I didn't see it. When you have these seasoned eyes. So let me, I can't go backwards. So I can go back to the list of people, add them to a network. Yeah. Oh, I know what happened. I'm glad I did that. I tried to give it the same name as the tag. Remember, I told you you can't have a tag the same name as a network. So I just need to give it the network a different name. GEDmatch Verified 2, whatever you want to call it. It just can't be the same as a tag. So I just add network. And now all 77 of these people will be in that network. And what's awesome about this is a lot of these people are not in, as I said, DNA. We have no DNA match. But we have proven that we're matched to them through GEDmatch. You can also change the number of people you show on the page at a time who wants to do all this pagination. And after you're looking at them, you can just choose view all. Now, this became a new game changer. When I started looking at view all, they give me birth location, death location. And sometimes, like Wanda, she might just want to know about Louisiana. What is amazing about being able to have Pro Tools in these networks, I could say more filters, and then I can say, you know what, let me see all of the people. Let's filter by in a place lived in Louisiana. And just like how we would filter our DNA matches, apparently I didn't have the right Louisiana. I don't know what these people talk about. So they either, I don't know what that was for, or was it death? Who was a death and was in Louisiana? So I guess I would have had to choose death. So I'm going to I want to remove all of these filters. So another thing you can do while I'm here, you can add a sticky if you choose. So I could have added a sticky that said Louisiana. I'm not sure how they're using these stickies, because what would be nice is if that was a note section, right? If this was a note section, that would be amazing for me. I don't know that it is today. I don't even see that a sticky was added to any one particular person. So I'm not quite certain how to use stickies. You can add a media source if you choose. I don't need a picture, a beautiful picture for this project. I just need to see all my people. And visit all the people. So now I want to filter by a location, events and places, lived in, and I'm gonna do all handy dandy Frederick, Maryland. This for my Catoctin folks. 68 people in my tree have lived in Frederick. And now what's amazing about this, if I wanted to say a Frederick County, create a create a group, which I think I have one, and all those people are now added to a group, a network. And now that I see all these people, when you choose the option, they've already been added to a network. So if I remove that, I get back to seeing everybody. If I, hey, here's my networks over here at the bottom. So now I don't have to go back and forth. That's helpful. I could just see all my networks over here. So I'll look at my Queen network. I have 103 people in my Anderson McQueen Queen network. This network is me tracking people relating to me through these surnames. And so now when I look at the network, where's the view all? Oh, I'm looking at it through a filter. So there is a difference. You can right click on and hit print. The problem is you're going to get everything on the page, and that's not visually what you want to see, right? So that's going to be in the way. So how you want to get around that? Having a network already created. So see there, I have to talk to Ancestry. Because some of it is great, some of it is how do I quickly get back to what I want to see? So if I look at a network, whatever network, let's see, I have a typo. It doesn't matter who. I want to choose, oh, this one here is a good one. Thompson, that's my Jamaican one. So once we're looking at an actual network, remember I said you can view all. When you view all, you don't have all that extra information at the top or on the right. Now when I hit or I right click on my mouse and I hit print, because I don't see where you can print. I'm either missing something, but I don't see a print button on here. But I'm a print person. So if I right click my mouse and I hit print or you choose Control F on your keyboard, now I can see 2 pages of everyone that's relating to me through this Thompson network. And what I love most about it is I can see their birth and their death dates. Now you can also sort by their birth. So maybe I want to see everybody that is the oldest person to the youngest person. Maybe I want to sort so they give you the death location, but these people are going to have such random locations. But if you happenstance want to group it by the location, then I guess you could. It looks like it's just going to group it by the date. So if you want to do locations, remember you would just do more filters. You'll filter it down to the location you want. And then once you're ready to print, you can print it accordingly to what you want. So for the network, so for the Pro Tools side of it that goes beyond DNA, this was a game changer for me, especially when I'm now ready to start analyzing these lines deeper, closer, individually. When I'm looking for enslavers, and then I need to figure out when did you come here, what is your name. So this is going to be a better visual representation of the people that we're trying to figure out that are in our tree, and then the people we add to our tree. So also under, I'll go to the rest of the features under Pro Tools, because that was one I had to make sure I hammered in, because that was phenomenal for me when I figured that out. Oh yeah, so there are reports you can create. So let me see. Tree checker we just saw. That's telling you how many duplicates and all the other stuff that you can try to merge and delete, that kind of thing. Enhanced shared features, that was the DNA piece that we saw. Smart filters, I just showed you that, was looking at everyone in your tree and being able to filter people by location, being able to add tags and filter by the tags, and then add all those people at a swift glance, a swift stroke to a network that you can create or an existing network. You can have a person with 6 network connections on their profile if that's what you want to do. If you have a reason for having that, you absolutely can add that many networks to your people. But if you're paying for Pro Tools, start today thinking about how you can structure your information so that it's beneficial for you. Creating a report, the only report I've seen that they have, I guess I was a terrible person to choose, um, was, let me see if I choose. Creating a report basically is finding, creating the pedigree outline overview of everybody in your tree. And let me see if I can get to it from, I don't know what page. I guess I have to go to an ancestor. So you're going to go to an ancestor, right? You're going to choose that ancestor that you want to be creating a report for. So let me share this with you guys because it's repeatedly said to me when people see my video, they're going to wonder why did I do it? So let me share with you what is going on with what you see. So when it comes to women, adding them to your tree, what they're saying is do not add her married name, only leave her maiden name. And I say to people, I'm good with my tree because as you see, I am very good with software, so I can get in and out of data. But what they're saying basically is what you can potentially do. Um, you know, you can put the married name in the corner if that's what you want to do, and leave the maiden name there. Visually, I'll be honest with you, it's gonna look the same way, right? I could have done that. It's gonna look the same way. Did it change? No. So you can do that. But the reason I want to know what her married name was is because when I start analyzing her connection to my line, and then when I'm double related to her because one of her kids married somebody else in another line, then I want to pay attention to who did she marry? Because if I don't know who she's married, then I don't know how she's connecting to the surnames that matter to me. So with you guys, I've come up with a better approach for how you may want to add a maiden name as well as the last name. The other thing that they said is this suffix field is not counted or count a part of the calculation for hints. So what that means is you can put it in this field. They don't care what you put in there. That's why some people have a book over there. Um, but what I like to do is I like to see where they were born and where they died. This is my visual indicator that tells me that you died in Maryland, but I mean, you died in Georgia, but you were from Maryland. And what that does for me, it allows me to be able to understand where I'm researching, where's there are ties and their relationships as it pertains to my family line and where I need to be looking. It means when you see in my tree that, because everybody can see all the names I got in my tree, and you're going to do a DNA match search. And that's what it's about, right? It really is about us trying to figure out how we're related and connected to each other and what these names mean. But I just want to be able to show you how to manage and organize your data. Um, and so she hasn't been added to any networks or anything like that because I just started doing this 2 weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago. So I have my own cleaning up I need to do with a lot of the people that are in my tree. But I wanted you to be able to see how to utilize that. So let me go back to home. The problem is you got to have the right person chosen in order for you to create a top down report of all of their ancestors. So if I go to create a report, maybe I just have to choose the right person. You do it over here under generations, choosing change, the focus person right here. So if I said Mary, the Papa Queen, as many of you know, she is the Ecuadorian relationship that some of us have out of Maryland. So you change the person that you want to view, and you change the number of generations you want to see, and you can change How it looks, all of that is up to you. But it's a great way of being able to top down see all of the people from your tree and how they potentially are relating to you based on that generation. And this is why many of us are relating to each other. When I started doing the talk about the indentured servants that came here free, European and African, and then they connected and hooked up. Many of us are descendants of those indentured servants. We are definitely going to have a lot of matches, and a lot of them have had they were breeders. So, they were being used to have relationships with different people. And so our matches are going to be all over the place. And we're trying to make sense of this madness. And so being able to utilize all of these different tools is how we can do that. I guess I could actually create a tree from a network. This is my first time looking and playing with that. Oh, so this is my tree. This was my tag and my person in my group where I said they were of African descent. I have more people than that. So that just means I got to clean up. Oh, I have to clean that particular one up. But you can choose your network. I just created that one. That's why there's only two. My bad. European Ancestors Network. There's a lot more of these people in these networks, but thankfully I could just use the tags to add them to it. So let me see what's the next one. Under Pro Tool options. Oh, Tree Mapper. I think that is a good one. Oh, we'll check out the last two. So these two are new to me. I guess they're using the tree mapper to show my direct line. Again, sometimes we're visual, sometimes it's helpful. My paternal he's in a lot more places than I thought. So I guess it's just a visual indicator. Okay. 710 people in my tree are in South Carolina. Good Google and Google. That's dope. That's what's up. That's what's up. So being able to, I guess, see them by locations and in that way. So that's really cool and interesting to be able to see that. Okay. So that is by the tree mapper that they have. And then exploring your insights. Oh, so maybe this is something that's talking about the actual, oh my gosh, the actual surnames themselves. And maybe it's going to give a history about the surnames themselves. I guess, yeah, I guess if you scroll down, it's going to give us information about whatever. So that's a kind of interesting, cool re-representation about the people you have in your tree and what some of the background of them could be and that kind of thing. So, okay. I wanted to talk about through lines because I recently started jumping on a couple of my cousins and saying, don't be sleeping on through lines because one of the things they've said about through lines, I'll tell you what has been said by someone that worked at Ancestry was that they're not adding developers or any money to the developing and enhancing and maintenance of through lines. Through lines work if you have the people in your tree. Through lines don't if they haven't found the matches. So this is another reason why you want to add your people to your tree so through lines can see you and then see those potential matches that are out there that they don't know how to tell you how you connect. So when you add these people to your tree, your through lines enhances and get a lot better. I think I just have a lot of family who ain't took no tests and don't want to take a test. But so I started seeing some new matches in other areas. My Wiggums and Hannahs are all definitely always huge. So this is one of my matches that I have to the queen name. I was talking with someone earlier and telling them you are a queen. So queen and proctors. So what's so cool about this? Karen, there's another person who's missing from this view. But now you're able to visually see how you're relating to someone. I don't believe I've added them to my tree. Um, Karen, I know I reached out. I've definitely added her to my tree. I think Teresa has been added. So of course, if you click on them, you're going to be able, I have added them to see because if I see how I'm related to you, I'm going to add you to my tree. without a doubt. I'm going to reach out to them. If they haven't been on it forever, I I have the DNA and I have your tree. I'm grateful for that, right? So these are just some of the things that with through lines though, you're going to want to analyze the connection. Don't just nilly willy look at a name and throw that person in your tree without looking to see what through lines is telling you about that person. So what this is saying, if I looked at Teresa's tree, she probably doesn't have Mary, James, or Harry. I don't know who she has in her tree, but if I click on one of these names and I analyze it, don't just do next and then add to tree because you don't know what information they have in there. So what I like to do is I will click on their name. I will try to take a look at what records they have. Do they have a decent tree that says anything? This particular person. So she went as far as Onita, but she didn't go further because she didn't know how. So, okay, I know I have James in my tree. I see there's Mary. I see where we're connecting. I can add it. So you'll want to make sure you analyze the information before you just nilly willy add it to your tree. This is someone different. This is a Sylvia Proctor. She's new to me. So if I look at her outline overview, so she's under Onita, but she's under a different person. So Teresa was Harry. She is James, a Penny. So now I know that these are going to be cousins to each other, distant cousins to me. I can probably add them to my tree. But I like to make sure I give my icons, I'm going to give my tags. So that's why you want to just slow down, take some time to evaluate your matches and make sure when you add her, go back to her profile, add your tags, add your networks, sit and done. But the visuals help me to understand that visually I now know how I'm relating to you. Back in the day, I used to put the text in their name. And because I had no other way of looking at a full line and saying how I'm related to you. For me, it's nerve wracking. It's nerve wracking to see a potential match, to see a match, and all of the people that are in their tree, and I don't have a clue. I don't remember anymore how I'm related to you. I don't remember at all because sometimes they had 10 kids, 8 kids. They could have 5 kids. If I have not given anything that told me how I'm relating to you, then I don't know what to do. So that's why I use these visual icons. Like this one here, I wouldn't have remembered how she would have been relating to me under Harry. But I kept the photo because I felt it was a really nice photo of each of the lines that I started seeing. But I now know pictures mean relationship. And if I look in notes, see, I got to do some cleaning up because I was going to say 9 times out of 10, I've stuck something over there in notes. That's something I started doing last. Catherine or Kitty? So see, I don't remember how I'm relating to her through Catherine or Kitty. So most likely it's through John. I mean, because this is going to connect to someone that makes sense to me. So these are the things that I started doing to really better hone in on my connections and in my tree. I'll look at a profile because Rhonda, I had mentioned Rhonda shared with me something we can do with one of our matches by looking. Let me go to my DNA matches. By being able to see the matching surnames that are in the tree. Right? It's Maddie Wood because Maddie is my relationship out of Bullitt County, Alabama. So I know that we are relating through the Anderson line. So this is how we're sharing the same name. But if I click on Maddie's link, these are all of the names that are in Maddie's tree that I may or may not have people in my tree matching that name as well. And then when we go look at the tree, this is going to show everybody in my tree that I believe that they're believing is related to me that are in my tree. So this feature down here just helps you to be able to hone in on the last names that are in the tree because it's very important to know that, especially when you're trying to drill in and figure out your DNA matches. Okay. I think I'm done. I knew that this was not going to be a super long conversation. So,
Deborah,
yes.
if you go back down to that, the map
Mm-hmm.
and use your filters on that, if you want to get a vast look, you can just look at the other person's tree and see everywhere that they have people throughout. If they have for a
Oh,
huge tree,
yes, I like that.
and so you can look for different areas that maybe would interest you. And then when you drill down on it, you'll it'll if you make the tree bigger, it'll break it down even more to the locations.
So I'm paying attention to this Jamaica. Well, Jamaica is my line, but I don't think Jamaica was her line. So, oh, but these are the names
But
she
that's
had
her
for her.
tree though, isn't it?
Huh? This is her
Oh,
tree. Oh, this
that's
does
your
say my
tree.
tree. It does
Do
say my
her
tree.
tree. Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering how to view mine, so that was helpful too. So now I can just toggle that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, there we go. All right. So you gotta zoom out to see the numbers wherever they are. So the bulk of hers are all in Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay, and mine is for whatever reason everywhere. But her tree might not be extensive with mine.
Yeah.
So
And it's helpful when you have someone that has a very large tree
yeah,
and you can just see the territory all over.
absolutely. Thank you for that. I knew
Mhm.
you was my pro over here in that one. One thing I do want to show, I've shown this in the past, is when you want to print a person's tree up, if you right click or you hit, I don't see a print button. So if you right click and you hit print, I'm gonna show you my tree. A lot of people don't have all of the other generations that I have in my tree. And so showing you my tree will help you to better understand how this is can be helpful. I have printed up so much information. I will burn down the tree. Sorry, I'm a printer. I need to visually see it, highlight it, underline it, write notes on it. So what I need to explain, if you don't expand any other relatives beyond these 5 generations, you will get a tree if you print it that shows you those 5 generations. And it's showing this small because I have it at 80%. I was printing. But if you start expanding the line for however far back you expand that line, and now when you right click, it's going to show you the printable view of that line. And that tick mark right there next to the person you chose is how you're going to follow that relationship. And so right here, this is the second half of that. And I don't see the next tick mark, but this is the last part of that. I chose Stinson, the Stinson surname. So it extends to the third page. So this is a great way of being able to print a line if you want to be able to understand and analyze those last names. And it's great to be able to say, once again, the Lloyds, the Fitzpatricks, being able to understand generationally. My Lloyds run into Brodus. They run into Days out of South Carolina that went to Russell. They're running into Stinsons that came from North Carolina to South Carolina to. So this is that information you need to understand. How did my ancestor get here? And it was already in the tree, but how do you visually see it? So before networks, that's one reason why I like to be able to do this. That's another reason I started adding that birth and death location at the end and appending it into the suffix of the name, because visually I want to be able to see, okay, you went from South Carolina and so now you're going over here, but your line was from the UK and England. So visually, this helps me to manage the data. Slow down, get you some links. I'll go to this website. Black Pearls of Genealogy is a website that's been developed by David Anthony Taylor. And what he's done is he's taking, there are many websites that have existed over the years. He's taking many of the links that are associated with African American based research and giving it to you and helping you to visually be able to understand what you're looking at and where to go find information. And so, documenting slavery is over here. He's talking about the Jesuits. If that was one thing when we're talking about the Maryland area, emancipation versus manumission. So he's doing his best to break down a great deal of information so that we can find the information or knowledge. of what we're looking for. Let me see. Tools. Tools he has under tools, genealogy labels. I'm a simple girl, but his labels definitely is created with AI. So there's many different labels. If you would love to be able to add Afrocentric labels to your tree, as I'm trying to encourage you to use labels. There were other labels that were first created by Nika Sewell Smith. Those are many of the labels that many of us started using. And then he took the charge to try to add more Afrocentric related labels so that you can add them if you so choose. Um, but again, he has a great deal of information on his website. And so that's just some information for you in case it will be helpful for you to have as far as labels go, because I'm a visual person. Feedback. Was this helpful? Was it helpful? Don't y'all
Yes,
all
it
talk
was.
at
It
once.
was.
Guys, I learned a lot because I don't even have access to any of those features. So I'm gonna really think about working it into my budget because
Yeah.
that's a lot of new stuff in there. And I see how they took like so much out and I see where they put it at. So
And now you know
that
how to
pisses
use
me
it.
off. But
Yep.
yeah, because I didn't have no access to any of that. I was wondering what was behind that curtain. Thank you.
It,
I
And
it
really
was some,
appreciate that.
Shell,
it was
can you not even see your shared matches?
It's like limited. I can see shared matches, but after that, it's hard for me to know paternal, maternal, and then like I can't go into the tree because I don't have the subscription. So it's limited. I can still see my DNA matches. I can still do groups, but it's kind of hard now. Wait, I can't do anything I was doing before they made that change because I was actually still able to see a lot of stuff before once they took the paternal and maternal off and put it behind the paywall, it like we can do some filtering, but it's mainly like search filtering. It's not really like as extensive as that filtering behind that paywall.
Yeah.
That is
Very
like
true.
I
amazing.
think
Someone has. Go ahead,
part,
brother.
that map part should be available unless they moved it too, because it has always been there. The map and the surnames
The
that
map is there. The map is there.
with the
I don't know how much deep into the map they're going to give me outside of, you know what I'm saying, not paying, but the map is still there. I can see like all of my matches on the map, but it's so limited as opposed to what I just saw.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make.
Deborah.
Oh,
Deborah, this is Joan. I got in late, but I'm definitely going to look into that network that
did
you
you?
were talking about.
It definitely can be a game changer, especially when you combine it with the filters or the tags.
Right. It
Um,
Yeah,
just
I like
seemed like
that.
it. So I'm going to jump on that and learn more about it. I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Absolutely.
Yes.
For those of you who are using groups, I was like, how do I see even the groups that I could create? And I've only created a few groups.
Mm.
But under that filter feature where you can filter, let me choose it again. So now not just sorting and filtering by a parent, we jump all the way down here to the parent. You can filter by the groups you've chosen.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that now I can just see the people I've tagged. And if I only want to
Right.
work on the people I've tagged, this is how I would take advantage of those tags and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I wanted just to make sure that I shared that